What am I going to read next? If you've written a great book and your reader gets to the end, the next question they should have is what's next? If the book they're reading isn't a series, it may be a little bit harder for them to figure it out. But if it is a series, your reader should absolutely know which book they have to pick up next to continue reading. Hey, I am Jane Nicole, a romance author with over 50 books. So yeah, I have a little bit of a backlist. I have some things that I could recommend to my readers. But what happens if I don't include it in the book that they're currently reading? What if I don't know where to point them to next? Well, that's a problem. And it's something I've been working on this year to make sure my readers know exactly what to pick up next. Because not everyone is an author or knows exactly where to go to find the next book. If they're reading the book and they love it, they may not go on Amazon and see what other books I have available. They may not go to my website to see the list of all the books that are related. They may not look around for any recommendations I have. They're in the book and they want to know what's next. So, where should the recommendations be? Right there in the book. So, with your backlist, that's all the books you've written to encompass the books that your readers may have read or may not have read, but it's everything that you can offer to the readers who are already reading and loving your books. But what happens if they can't find it? What happens if you're relying on Amazon to recommend the next book that they should read? That's a challenge. So, today's video, I want to discuss how you can improve your backlist sales. And that's by recommending your books to the readers who are already reading your books. So, for instance, I have a few series, right? And many of my series are about 3 books, 4 books, and I have one series that's 6 books long. But before the series releases, I tend to have just the book that they're currently reading. So like book number 1, in the back of it may list, hey, here's a link to go look at my other books, but I may not have every book that I intend to write in that series listed. That's a challenge because once they finish that book, they're moving on to another author, another book, another series, and they may or may not remember to come back to your book. So what I've started to do is a little bit more planning on the series that I plan to write. So for instance, if I'm writing a 3-book series, if I'm planning a 3-book series, I will say, okay, these are the 3 books that I plan to write. I'll work with my editor and everyone else who's involved in the writing process to ensure that I can create a schedule that will then allow me to go into Amazon and set up all the other books as pre-orders. This is key because when the reader finishes that first book, while the book is still fresh in their mind and while they're still loving it and hopefully leaving a review, they can also go and click book number 2, pre-order it, and they may or may not also go ahead and pick up book number 3. But at least with book number 2, at the end of that, you can then recommend to them book number 3. Since they've already pre-ordered, there's no worry about them forgetting about it because it'll land in their Kindle or wherever they order it from when it's available. If you're not able to come up with a schedule that will allow you to set up your pre-orders in advance, at the bare minimum, let them know where they can go to find the next book, what books will be coming next, so that it'll remind them that this is a series that you'll want to come back to. So I always recommend making sure you at least have a link to your website or some place that has a list of the books that you've written. And the book that should come after the book number 1 in the series should be listed as coming soon. So that they'll know, okay, this book is next and it's coming soon and I can come back and check on it. But ideally, your book should at least be up on pre-order so that your readers can go ahead and click that and have it available for them. What I've also recently started to do is go to the very last book in a series. So if I'm in a 3-book series, I've got book 1 will point to book 2 will point to book 3, and book 3, now that they've finished all the way through the series, they must really like your writing. So they're looking for something else. So I have created a what to read next table that will allow me to point them to another series. So ideally, I will recommend series number 1, and from that series, now I have all the other series that can come from that initial series. So my first series is Greetings from Tuckerville. From that, I lead into LA Stars series, which is a sports romance, but it's a a series that's off of one of the books from Greetings from Tuckerville, so some of the characters will carry over, so there's some continuity there, so that the readers can be like, oh, okay, that's cool, we'll go into that series. Once book 3 of the LA Star series is complete, then I'll send them into my next sports series, which is Ricky's series. That's 4 books, and from for those 4 books, I then send them into my latest release, which is This Love? And each of those books may have a little bit to do with the others, but they're all series. So they're all something that the readers can get, fall in love with and read continuously. Because typically, if someone's reading a series, they may like reading series. I've also done the same thing for my standalones. So for my standalones, I've come up with a what next to read so that I can start directing my readers into other standalones because they may enjoy standalones better. I have heard that readers don't typically like series because they have to wait a long time until the next book is out. But if your series is complete, that's perfect for you to go ahead and point them to the next book or even to another completed series because they don't have to worry about the book coming out later, and they'd be happy to know that the books are already complete and ready for them to read. So it's great for you to point those out to them. Let's see what else is there. So we have all your books pointing to the next book, your final book pointing to the next series, and you have all your series mentioned in one of your books. So wherever a reader comes into your backlist, they can now go and follow this path into other books to read. Something else that I've done is also created a email path that will show the readers what to read next. So if they pick up my freebie and they've read that and they loved it, then I point them to another series that they can start reading. And from that series, again, they'll be entered in to an introduction to another series once they complete that one. So everywhere is pointing them somewhere else to pick up, because we have to remember that readers are not like us. They're not thinking, well, what other books does this author have? Let me go to their website. Let me go to their Amazon page and look at all of the other books that are included. They're thinking, okay, I read this book. There's nothing mentioned in the back, so I'll just go to another author or to another book. You don't want them to leave your catalog if possible. If they enjoy your writing, they know that what they love about it, keep them reading, keep them fed with other books. If you do not have other books currently written, then point them to your website, point them to your mailing list so that they'll be alerted when that next book releases. But the best thing that you can have is multiple books to point them to, because then they can enjoy that book and go read others. But always have some way that you can point them to another book. If you're recommending a book for someone to start at, sometimes readers will come to me, first-time readers will come to me and say, oh, which book should I read first? Sometimes I'll ask a reply question that will say something like, well, what do you like? Because that will kind of guide me to where I point them into the books. Or I'll just say, hey, read my Greetings from Tuckerville series because it's 6 books and somewhere in there is likely something you'll enjoy, whether it be a trope, whether it be a writing style, whether it be a combination of characters. There's something within that series that will find a home for them. And then once they've read that, they can then go off into my other series that I have also written. So again, let's cap up everything that we've talked about today, or summarize it, better to say. Your backlist. We want to have a backlist and a list of things, of books that readers can read. Definitely have it listed on your website if possible. In your social media, you can have a link to that website, so it have all the books that you've ever written, and potentially grouped by series or likeness. If there's spin-off books or types of books, tropes, you can find a grouping so that readers know, like, oh, okay, I like this type of book, or I'm looking for this type of book, or these are all the books that are related, because readers like to know, like, where should I start? Then in all your books, make sure there is at least a mention of another book that they can read. Don't just point them to your list, because then that is an extra task that they have to do that they may or may not be in the mood to do. So point them to another book that they can read. And make sure all of your books in a series have the next book in the series listed at the end. So they know, okay, I need to continue reading to complete this series, and this is the next book in the list. So 3 things that you can do today to make sure that your readers know where to go next. First thing is have a complete list of all your books listed on your website and somewhere a link that you can point your readers to. 2, make sure that your series, every book has a link and a name to the next book that they should read. And 3, the final book in that series should always point to another series or another book to get started on. I hope this is helpful. I hope this will help you and your readers find more books to read by you. If you have any questions or any comments, drop them in the comments below or send me an email and I'll be happy to respond either in the comments or an email back. Thanks. Hope you enjoy your day.